I'll go ahead and just kick it off, and then I guess you're just going to go into the Rancor, and then I'll just kind of add commentary. You do your
Basically.
your beautiful thing. Okay, and you're going to take all the credit, right?
Of course.
What's up, YouTube? Una here with another special guest once again. Oh gosh, I should have reviewed the pronunciation.
Adigan.
I was gonna guess, man. You got to give me time to guess. We got our special guest Adigan here. I'm just in my head. You've been a Deegan for the past 4 months, just because we've never gotten on the voice chat before. So it's gonna be so hard for me to shift it now that in my mind you're just a Deegan. Exactly. So, Guardians, we've seen a ton of Rancor videos out there, and we put a Guardian version of the Rancor version out there with the most up-to-date. It is literally the most up-to-date version of the Rancor, because, most of those people that are good and have that knowledge have moved on, and Rancor is super simple to them, and we're just now approaching, our heroic. We wanted to put out a more in-depth version of an actual walkthrough, because I feel like when I watched those videos as a beginner, I didn't have, no one was, explaining it step by step. And Adigan here he's our Rancor tamer. He gets out his whip and beats that Rancor on an every other day basis. So we're gonna first go through. Our first version is gonna be a free to play version where we're gonna go through a phase 1, and then we'll go through kind of like a phase 2, and he's gonna talk a little bit more about how to use these characters beyond just what their abilities are and how to mod them, all the pre-setup stuff. Now we're going into the actual production side where it does matter. I mean, to me, I don't have the best. I mean, Adigan, I don't have by far. I don't have the best T-bow. I probably have the 11th or 12th or 13th best T-bow in our guild.
It does what it needs to do.
Right, but I always place top 5, and that's not because of the damage with the droids and stuff like that. It's because I feel like I know how to use these units, and we've got people with better T-bows than me, better Qui-Gons than me, and they're placing below me or at the same rank as me, and I think that's because of how you use the units. I would say the setup, the mods, the characters, that's 80% of the battle, but the other 20% is once you're in and making the decisions of when to do each move. Would you say that it's similar on your end?
I'd give it a bit more percent, more like 60-40, I would say.
Okay, well, maybe, and I'm probably going to learn something here too then by watching this. So
a lot of my raid strategy, even a month ago, I wasn't doing as well as I am now. A lot of it is just you do the motions and you kind of figure out the best timings for things. So this first run, I'm going to use Geonosian Soldier instead of Rex, mostly because this is going to be the team here that most people are going to be able to field, just because Rex is so hard to acquire. I mean, now that he's in the fleet shipment, he is more readily available, but it's still a long, hard farm. So I'm just going to do this first run with this crew, because I know this is going to be the most accessible to most people. So, and a lot of it really is finding out the best times to either use or not use an ability, and that's the biggest learning curve I've found.
So, all right, so let's get into it.
Let's go ahead and jump in. So this is my team here. As we kind of reviewed last time in our character video, this is my main squad. I use Rex instead, but we're going to run Geonosian Soldier this time.
Geo, our friend Geo.
Yep.
We don't call him GS. He's Geo to us.
I just cut off all the rest of his name. Just start with the first syllable.
G. What up, G?
So pretty much everyone's got almost full turn meter here. What I tend to do, I take out the guards as soon as I can. So, we'll just get right into it. So I'm going to use Qui-Gon's assist at first. Just get as much damage in as I can on these guards.
Now you start with the right one. Is there a reason you start with the right versus the left?
The right one usually taunts first. The second one, or the other one taunts second. So I know I'm going to have to target this first one pretty soon anyways. So I just get them out of the way. And they don't honestly do a whole lot of damage. So I usually can take out this first one before he does much of anything. So it's just weathering that first hit from the other guy. And then you go for it. Now, this is what I really like to see on an opening run right here, is T-bow stealths right off the bat, because I don't want Captain to go and buff them. So this is the one time I take a break from attacking the two guards, is when T-bow stealths. Just get captain out of the way and not have to worry about him for a little while.
Now, if Tebow were not stealthed, would you have activated his stealth ability there?
Probably yes. Just because, I like to make sure the captain doesn't go at first. Because when the two guards are up, his first thing, let me go back to it real quick, is his buff. So he's going to give them turn meter and offense up, and I really don't want that to happen. And also, since I've already poked at them a few times, it'll also heal them up. So that's why I'll try to get the captain just remove his turn meter right off the bat with Tebow. So,
And then he hasn't even gone at this point. So
yeah. So if Tebow's stealth didn't activate, this is the time I would.
Okay.
Lucky for me it did, but... And we go back to... And this is where we slow everyone, hopefully. Good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I can already see I run Jawa, and he's a single target slow, so that Phasma is quite nice.
Phasma, I love for phase 1, because it gets all of them right off the bat. So, we have that second one taunting now. This is a great time where I use the Humbling Blow, because I'm trying to get those guards down as fast as possible, and this is going to give me offense up by clearing it. So, we kill him, give everyone offense up, and let's take out this other guard. So
Tebow's up and he's stealthed.
Tebow's up, he's still stealthed. Now at this point, I'm looking at the captain's turn meter and comparing it to the rest of my guys. I'm pretty sure my Tebow's going to go again before the captain will. This is my judgment on the number of times I've run this raid. So,
okay.
So looking at where the turn meters are right now, I'm pretty sure my Tebow will probably go again before captain will. So I'm going to do as much as I can to this guard first. No, I might be mistaken.
Wow. Okay.
But...
Yeah, I always would, whenever Tebow comes up and he's stealth, I hit the cap. So, I don't know, but, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that is better to go ahead and just take the guards out so that you can focus on them, but...
Let's see. Actually, it might be pretty close here. We'll see what happens. So, that's the other reason I like Phasma right there. Is now we've got defense down on the captain. So anytime Phasma crits with her basic, it hits defense down. So this is going to make me do a lot more damage. This is exactly what I thought would happen. Qui-Gon goes just before. So hopefully he will... Yes! That's what I wanted to happen right there. That little bit of extra turn meter removal from Qui-Gon going right before. Tebow's still stealthed. Oh, of course we're going to resist. The best time of resisting. Whatever, we keep on going. So.
Now, do you ever, I mean, we're at a point where we don't really care about the Rancor, but, if we super care, or maybe when we get to T7, would you restart here ever? When would you restart, or how would you make that decision?
So, that depends on what happens right now. So, as you can see, Captain's turn meter is really, really close, and I've got Phasma going. And I think Qui-Gon might go, but I'm not 100% sure, because turn meter gets all funky with, who gets 100% first, and defenders getting priority and all that. So at this point, what I'm going to do is when I will use Victory March here, to just make sure Qui-Gon has his turn meter, and Tebow is full too. So I won't reset quite yet. I'll use Victory March, and basically see, of course it goes to him. Well, let's hope that Geo's going to call either Qui-Gon or Tebow now. And he does. That was
so the rule there. If I and probably we're going to get more into it, but if you see that the guard is going to go before Tebow, you will call the Victory March every time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, the entire point is, especially if I'm trying to solo this, I don't want my guys taking any damage to go into phase 2. So, this is a little more important if you're, say, somewhere in the, 20 to 30% range when you're starting in on the captain. You want to make sure you can preserve as much of your protection going into Rancor as possible.
You beat the piggies without losing any protection?
Very little. Every once in a while, he'll get a turn and attack me, but like at this point,
I didn't realize I was so far behind you.
So this is his next turn is going to be him trying to deathmark someone. So that's already a free turn right there. I'm just trying to limit it as much as possible. Because his turn order, if this move, the call of the other guards, is available, he will do that. If the guards are up, he will do this. If this is up, he will do that, and then finally his basic. So that's.
Oh, I didn't know that. I never understood when he chose to do the different things.
Yeah, that's his rough turn order. Is if there's no guards or there's one of the guards is dead, and this ability is active, he will choose to do this to make sure he has 2 guards. If one or both guards are up and this is available, he will then do this to give them the turn meter, the health, and the offense up. If there's no guards, he will never use that ability, by the way. So, I mean, it does give himself that boost, that 30% turn meter and offense up, but he won't use it if the 2 guards aren't available.
Okay.
So then, if the 2 guards aren't up, it'll either be, right now the summon is down, so he'll do this first, the death mark, and then basic after that.
So does that affect how you make a decision here at all? Like if you know so you just won't use your cleanse if you know that the death mark's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you now.
Yeah, it's a lot of observing what abilities he has available and checking his turn meter compared to yours. So there's a lot of judgments you end up making.
Okay.
All right, so let's get back into this. So, Ewok Elder, for the most part, unless you need to heal or cleanse, he's just whacking away, gaining as you can see, he just attacked, and he's already at 50% turn meter again. So
might be 60. I think it's 60 actually. It's a lot of turn meter, right?
I think it's a 60% chance to gain 50% turn meter.
Actually, I can look it up here real quick. It is a 60% chance to gain 50% turn meter. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure, I know Tebow and Qui-Gon were full from Victory March, so he's back up at 50% already.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And look, Tebow's still stealth, so just basic away.
Gosh.
Same with Qui-Gon. Just basic away. Now, it's kind of funny. Actually, at that point, it's a possible time I might have used his assist, because the captain was at 0 turn meter, and just for the extra damage, I might have, but for the most part...
I do that all the time. Yeah. I do that all the time. It's at 0, and it's like, I should have assisted there, just because I'm so used to hitting the basic.
For the most part, basic is my go-to for Qui-Gon. Mm-hmm. That's 99% of the time what he's doing, so I just automatically do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at this point, it's just, fighting away. Now, for Geo's assist, I tend to make sure that Tebow is stealthed before I use it. Mostly because if it ends up calling Tebow and he's not stealthed, that's just more free turn meter for, either the captain or the Rancor.
Okay, so in this case, Tebow is stealthed, so you'll call the assist. Yeah. Now, here's a question. Ooh, well, I guess go ahead and we'll ask it next time it comes up. Because sometimes do you ever just call the Geo assist and just pray that it's Qui-Gon when if Qui-Gon strips turn meter that Tebow will potentially have another turn before he goes?
Sometimes. So hopefully we can get it to where that scenario might pop up and I can kind of go over my my judgments at the time. So, I mean, a lot of
your Tebow is just being a team player here by staying stealth. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, when his RNG is like this, I just roll with it and let it go. So, I mean, pretty much for the most part, at this point, everyone's just running their basic over and over. And... Okay. So now, let's take a look at this. So this is a scenario where I would kind of debate on using his activated stealth. So, kind of what I'm looking at this point is what is Qui-Gon's turn meter, what is Ewok Elder's turn meter, what is Phasma's turn meter at.
You put way more thought into this than I do. I just hit that stealth as soon as it comes up, and he's not stealth.
Yeah,
so you're looking at your turn meters compared to the captain's.
Yeah.
And if you can't go again, then you stealth. If you think you can go again, you go through your basics again.
Or if I think that Qui-Gon has enough and Ewok Elder has enough to give Tebow more turn meter and for Qui-Gon to take some away, I'll make that judgment as well. Like, a lot of this...
I never make that judgment call, so that's an interesting...
a lot of this for me is very, very fast these days, because I've run these so often. Mm-hmm. I kind of know what it is I'm looking for. So, like, I kind of am basing it off of where the captain's turn meter is right at that moment. So, like, in this particular case, I'm probably going to use stealth. If the captain's turn meter was, say, 10 or 15% less, I might not.
Okay.
And that's mostly just me being familiar with the speed of my guys, the speed of the enemy, and the likelihood of the various things that'll happen. Now, kind of the other thing to look at here is, since Phasma is going before, like, it looks like my turn order is going to be Tebow right now, then Geo, then Phasma. So at this point, I would kind of consider whether or not Phasma's Victory March would be enough to get Tebow that extra turn for the stealth or not. At this point, I'm probably just going to go ahead and stealth, just because I know it's there and I can go ahead and do it. Here's the fun one. Like, I still haven't figured out any kind of accurate description of when Ewok Elder is going to go first or Tebow when he uses his activated stealth.
There's a trick. I figured it out. Do you know what it is?
What?
You have to want Tebow to go first, and then that'll make Ewok Elder go first.
Ah, that's exactly what it is. So we're just going to do that. Too bad he didn't give turn meter to himself, but there we go. Now, Tebow's stealthed, and assist is up, so I'm going to use it. It was Ewok Elder, but notice how his turn meter and Tebow's went up a little extra from that.
Does his... No, it adds... When he gets that 60% chance to earn 50, that's 50% on top of whatever he has currently, right?
Yes. It is just... You take his turn meter, add 50% right at that moment.
Okay. And 50% of the total.
Yeah. So that's... And then my Ewok Elder, since I have his basic Omega, he also is going to add 25% to Tebow, and then 10% to everyone else. So, Ewok Elder's given a lot of turn meter to everyone.
Mm-hmm. He's a giver.
Yep. And as usual, Qui-Gon does basic, and...
Did you notice that Phasma, her damage there was 5555?
I did not see that, actually.
That's kind of a funny reference to who she replaced, but in any case.
Yep.
Just to rub it in a little bit, they just thought they'd throw that number in real quick.
Now, here's the infamous Tebow bug. I just used his stealth last turn, and he's unstealthed. So the way that happens is, his leader stealth overrides his activated stealth. So basically what had happened last turn, I used his activated stealth, he gains 100% turn meter. Now his turn happens, and his leader stealth activated as well. So now the leader stealth overrides his activated, so it's just a single turn. And now on this turn, his leader stealth did not activate, which is why he comes out of stealth. It's a pain in the butt bug, but that's what happens. And you just kind of got to learn to roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I'm looking at my turn meters. I mean, obviously he's just going to attack, so we attack. Ewok Elder is going to go, hopefully.
I normally would have done the bring low there just because he does like a lot more damage. Is there any reason why you shouldn't do a bring low there?
Specifically, no.
It's more just about like if he's going to call the guard soon, right?
Kind of. So the thing about bring low, I hardly ever use it on the Rancor unless the door is down for that extra damage. I like to save it in this phase for a couple of reasons. One, say for instance his stealth doesn't come up and he's used that buff, the buff thing, to give himself and the others offense up. And Bring Low also has a remove turn meter function to it as well.
Right.
So if it's Tebow's turn, he's not stealthed, and Captain has a good amount of turn meter, that's when I'll use Bring Low to just, A, remove the offense up, and B, just get that extra little bit of turn meter removal. And I mean, that's not going to be an issue for a while because the guards aren't up and won't be for another 6 turns of the Captain. It's just, I kind of have a twitch of I just use everyone's basic.
Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with Qui-Gon's assist, like we were talking about earlier. It's just like, well, I just did that.
Like, I hardly ever use his assist unless the door is down on Rancor, just because his basic, removing that turn meter is so much more important. So, it's just a habit to just go with their basics most of the time.
Okay.
So, I mean, at that point, you could have used Bring Low for that extra little bit of damage. It just usually doesn't occur to me, honestly.
Yeah.
So
I need it. I can't beat this phase without losing any protection like you. I need to scrape by with whatever I can get.
Yeah. So at this point, I mean, basic, obviously. So, looking at turn meters, I don't think Qui-Gon's going to go before the Captain. He might, but it's going to be really close. So this is definitely a point I'll use her Victory March to get everyone's turn meter back up. So go ahead and do that. Of course, it brings him up. So we basic, because Tebow's not stealthed. So this will be Qui-Gon basic, and the resist, and Tebow doesn't stealth again. What the heck, let's use Bring Low. So, like I said, if Deathmark is available, he's going to use it. Now here's kind of the other thing of, I tend not to cleanse it right away. So let's see. You take extra damage, what is it? It's for 5 turns. The amount of turns my guys end up taking over him, for the most part, I usually end up having it disappear on its own before the Captain's going to take a turn. This is me, and I know my team is really good at this, so some people might want to cleanse it, but kind of looking at turn meters right now, I know Ewok Elder is going to at least have 1 more turn before the Captain goes, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. And I'm also going to hope that Tebow's going to stealth for more turn meter removal. So kind of at this point, it's a wait and see for me on if I want to cleanse Deathmark or not.
When you go stealth, is that a mechanic of, like, sometimes it purges Deathmark? Does it always purge Deathmark when you go stealth?
I only think activated stealths do.
So if Tebow activates it, then it gets rid of it. But if he just does it as a part of his leader ability, it wouldn't get rid of it.
Correct. Because let me get to I'll get to it in a minute. I want to kind of check the exact wording of his leader ability.
Okay.
Because I think
I can pull it up here. Hang on.
Because I think that's a crucial part of it.
I can read it to you. It says, allies would have a 55% chance to gain stealth for 1 turn at the beginning of their turns, and a 50% chance to gain 25% turn meter.
Okay.
And then his stealth says Ewok allies gain 100% turn meter, and Tebow gains stealth for 3 turns.
Okay. Well, then the wording doesn't help me on that. No matter. Anyway, so kind of the thing I like about Geo here is his special of when he crits, he's gaining 50% turn meter. He's got a pretty good crit rate, so let's see if he does. He doesn't this time. And Tebow didn't stealth again. See, the random number generator is hating me for my luck earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we just basic and go along. So, now at this point, Tebow is going to be the target since he has Deathmark. and he's going to take extra damage because of it. So at this point, I now will cleanse it. So, let's go ahead and do that. Phasma's Victory March isn't up, so we just do that. Oh, I made a mistake. I forgot he already took a turn. I should have reslowed. Oh well, I'll get to it. So I forget, Phasma has a 2-turn speed down on her special. And I forgot that Captain took a turn. So, oh good, T-Bow's actually stealth this time. Ewok Elder, whatever. So I will say a lot of this tends to be, business as usual, just keep plugging away with basics. So I'll kind of see if there's another, scenario where I'll make a decision on if something will happen. But for the most part, it's just you keep swinging around with basics and Geo assist when T-Bow is stealthed. And that's the most part of what I'm doing. And I'll say a lot of it, just because I've become so used to how my team works, I do a lot of this almost on autopilot. So, it's not, turning on auto and letting it run, because I make better decisions than the AI does, but so many of the decisions I make are so second nature at this point, because I've run so many raids.
Mm-hmm.
The resist. There we go. So this is probably going to get us into... Let's see what's going to happen. So we're getting pretty close. Oh, good, he did take. So Phasma's going to go. So, here's another point where looking at my turn meters, the boost that, unless I get really, really lucky with, Ewok Elder after his turn, getting the 50% himself plus the 25 from T-Bow's leader, going again, and on both of those giving T-Bow turn meter, T-Bow is probably not going to go again before Captain. So I will stealth at this point. And this... he resists.
I hate that.
And he's going to get another... Oh. So kind of like this. Now if I'm really lucky, T-Bow's going to get some extra turn meter and go just before. And he does.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's why I like having Ewok Elder. And I remember in our last video, we said, highly recommended. That right there is the exact reason why.
Mm-hmm.
Because he gives just that enough.
I see that all the time when I play too.
And then, there we go. So that's why I would almost say Ewok Elder is required. I wouldn't say he...
it's that difference of it's not like, oh, okay, he went. I mean, that's a huge difference that you're still on turn 13 versus someone who doesn't have EE is now on turn 12.
Yeah.
And that could be the difference of 10%, 20%. I mean, it could be pretty big.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
particularly now that we're still doing T6s. I mean, there's just so much health on these things.
Yeah.
It's almost like a different strategy for T6 because you have to go through so much more health as opposed to a T7 where you can kind of bully your way through it with damage.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of my favorite reasons for having Ewok Elder on my team is moments exactly like that where he gave himself 50%, got that 25% from T-Bow's leader, went again really quick, gave T-Bow just enough to go again. Like, the amount of times I see that happen, I wouldn't say it's consistent, but it happens fairly regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So... Mm-hmm. So that is why I would say Ewok Elder is borderline required. And especially because I think they up the speed of everyone in the tier 7 as well. So having just that extra little bit of turn meter gain on your own side, there's the resist.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember you asking me at one point whether or not you would use Qui-Gon's assist to try and hope you would get T-Bow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So... with the way my team runs, looking at the turn meters right now, I would say no. If the captain's
Yeah,
turn
I
meter
would
was a little
hear
bit
you.
further up, I might. But looking at it right now, I can kind of hope that Qui-Gon will remove some. Otherwise, I'm fairly certain Phasma will go before Captain. And I'm pretty sure her victory march is up. The resist.
But Geo's coming up too, and he's
Yeah.
got the assist.
So
Yeah,
Geo's
I would agree.
assist,
I
on
would
the
not
other
have done
hand,
the,
I definitely would use right here. Because at this point, there's a 50-50 odds of calling someone to remove turn meter, which is going to be Tebow or Qui-Gon. He might call Ewok Elder to give Tebow just a little bit more turn meter. It's like, I have a 1 in 4 chance to call someone who's not going to help me. Let's see what happens. Oof.
You called to someone that didn't help you.
Well, he called someone that could potentially help me, but didn't. So.
That Qui-Gon, he's such a jerk.
I know. So at this point, I am definitely using Victory March. Because you can see that Captain's turn meter is right there. Ah!
Oh, that is so nice.
Yeah, but it's not who I wanted to go, because I'm pretty sure the damage from Geo is going to fill his turn meter.
Yeah, and I don't think Tebow's at 100 yet. Yeah.
So.
Well, you tried.
It happens. Whatever. So we're just going to keep plugging away as usual.
But to that point, it's yet another chance.
Yeah.
When just in the same way that when Geo was going and you had a 1 in 2 chance, it's similar with Phasma, where she has a 1 in 2 chance of calling someone that could strip turn meter.
Yeah.
So it's just yet another. Like, if you look at that, you've ever heard of like the Swiss cheese model?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you put a whole bunch of Swiss cheeses up against each other, eventually there will be no more holes, right? Because eventually there's going to be a piece of cheese.
There's enough coverage somewhere down the line. Yeah. So, and this I will say, like, if I had Rex in place of Geo right here, I would be doing even better. Because Rex's basic is removing turn meter. So all those times that Geo ended up going would be turn meter removal instead of, just damage and Captain gaining. So that's the real advantage I have with Rex right there. Because all those times you saw Geo going would be Rex removing turn meter instead. Right.
Yeah, it's like if you're coming from let's say you're coming from a background of Tebow, Phasma, or let's say Tebow, Fives, Qui-Gon Jinn, Geonosian Soldier, and Luminara.
Yeah.
If you want to double your score, replace Luminara with Ewok Elder. I feel like. If you want to quadruple your score, throw Rex in there instead of Geonosian Soldier. It's from what I've seen based on potencies and other guild members' teams. It's just night and day difference when you throw those two in there.
So, I mean, again, his stealth is down. He's got advantage, so he's going to crit. So let's use Bring Low because it's a little more damage.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's one of those things I tend not to think about myself, but it is nice extra damage.
Well, see, that's what Guardians do. We stick together and help each other out. See?
And just to make sure defense down stays on him. So, there. Geo's going 2 times in a row because he crit, he's so fast, he probably got that extra 25% from Tebow's leader. So I will say, he's not as good as Rex because of the turn meter control, but if you're trying to get some damage in, he's fantastic because he just like that. Look how full his turn meter is again after just going.
Well, a good way to look at it is you've got a 5v1 here, essentially. When you do something that benefits you, that only benefits 1/5 of your team.
Yeah.
Right? But when you remove the captain's turn meter, that's essentially benefiting all 5 of your members, because now all 5 of your members are further up on the turn meter scale as opposed to Geo only boosting himself. So it's huge.
Yeah. So that difference with Rex, and let's see. So again, this is another one of those judgment points.
Oh, I'd use it here.
Yeah. Of course, Ewok Elder goes first. Because we can't have things go our way all the time.
No, that'd be too good, especially for a day when you're recording a video.
Yep. Can't have everything happen perfectly. Dang, look at all that turn meter Ewok Elder just got.
Gosh, he's awesome. I love him.
Yeah.
Now I run Galactic War these days with Tebow and EE. Like those
Yeah.
are those. That's my Galactic War team. Is I put in 3 people to support those 2.
Yeah. And it was like, I remember my raid runs before I got Ewok Elder. So my team used to be Tebow. Trying to remember because this was a while ago before I got Ewok Elder up to speed. Because I know I used 5s back then. And I don't even think I used Qui-Gon because he wasn't 76 at that point. So he wasn't nearly as useful.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I might have had Rex then. So it was Tebow, Rex, 5s, Geo, and I think it was either Lumi or Qui-Gon, depending on the day. But like at that point, I was struggling to get 1,000,000. And as soon as I got Ewok Elder in, like my scores skyrocketed. Just because of that turn meter control. Jerk.
Yep. I think when I joined the guild, I was 76 that day.
Yeah.
Right. It was like I didn't want to tell you guys, but I just Omega Qui-Gon's basic, and I'm super excited. And I think I only pulled like 700. It wasn't 1,000,000. And I was just like, "Is this gonna be good enough? Are they gonna kick me out because I'm horrible at this game?"
The dodge. So, a funny thing I've noticed with Tebow, if he's stealthed and either the captain or Rancor dodges, the turn meter doesn't apply. With Qui-Gon or with Rex, they're separate. So if Qui-Gon misses his attack, but that 65% chance to remove turn meter fires, it can still remove the turn meter even though the damage didn't land.
I tell you, I sometimes question how they coded this game.
I
It's strange
have
things like
no idea. Weirdest coding, I swear.
Mm-hmm. Now, come on, Qui-Gon, do your job. It's the
all
worst.
Right. So now we're definitely going to hope that Gio's going to call Tebow.
Spray and pray. Spray and pray. Let's do this.
Come on. Nope.
Okay.
Wait.
Ooh, could you victory march here? Okay.
Let's victory march. He had enough turn meter too. Wasted victory march.
But I'm definitely seeing the pros of victory march there. I just don't have Phasma. I run Jawa, and there's just nothing I can do in that situation. But with Phasma, you get that 1 in 2 chance that you could potentially call Qui-Gon or Tebow. That's pretty interesting.
It's the giving them turn meter that's the thing. Victory march isn't an assist call. It's just a gain turn meter.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, you've got a chance to make sure that one of them can go again before. All right, let's get speed down again. And just keep plugging away. Qui-Gon is not working for me today. All right, let's call Tebow. Come on. And he's not stealthed. All right. Come on, Ewok Elder, do your thing. See, his turn meter is practically full again. This is why I love Ewok Elder. There you go,
He's a machine gun.
And we get some more damage in. And Tebow's turn. And he stealths. Good Tebow. Bad Tebow. Of course he resists right then. But looking at the turn meter, or looking at his refreshes, he's going to death mark again, so could be worse. Unless Geo calls Tebow right here. Nope, he's going to call Phasma. Death mark, whatever. So again, at this point, I'm probably not going to cleanse it right away. I'm going to see how this all plays out.
And this goes to the earlier point, is that, was he stealthed when he had the death mark put on him?
Because he wouldn't have been able to be targeted. Because he was a valid target, which means he wasn't stealthed. But yeah, the Tebow leader stealth does not break death mark. As far as I know, any other activated stealth will. So Tebow's activated if you're using Leia, which is not really advisable, but if she's the only one you have, then go for it. But and I forget who else has an activated stealth offhand, but the activateds will remove it, but Tebow's leader won't. So at this point still, so like right now, I remember I was talking about I wouldn't use his activated stealth right now, because Ewok Elder and Qui-Gon are both going to go well before Captain will, and they'll probably either remove turn meter, give Tebow turn meter, or whatever. So at this point, I'm not worried about it. Geo. And of course,
okay,
Qui-Gon didn't.
Now here's an interesting point. So, are you going to risk it for the biscuit and try and get Tebow to go first, or are you going to cleanse?
That's the interesting one. And it's harder for me to make that judgment right now because I'm not used to Geo in my team. And he complicates things with the turn meter. Because his attack...
that's right. I didn't even see that he's about to go too. That is really interesting.
Geo's going to go next unless Ewok Elder gives Tebow the turn meter.
Yeah.
So...
And then is his stealth ready?
It is, because I remember I didn't use it. So... This is why I like Rex.
And he's not enraged, so I would basic if I were you, because he's not going to kill Qui-Gon.
No.
And I think his basic's going to make Tebow go.
All right, let's...
Just do the
there
basic.
we go.
Yep, there you go.
That's what I wanted.
Yep.
So, here's the other advantage of Rex being in, is Rex also has a cleanse. So between Rex and Ewok Elder, if I need to make that split decision, I have that available. So if I think I can get... So if those turn meters were exactly the same, but it was Rex instead of Geo there, I, without any hesitation, would have used Ewok Elder's basic. For a couple of reasons. One, it would hopefully get Tebow that extra turn meter. Two, Rex has a cleanse, and on Rex's cleanse, it gives more turn meter when it cleanses something. So, I find Rex's to be more useful than Elder's, for the most part, unless I need that heal. So we'll just keep going along. Tebow's stealth, so let's call the Ewok Elder. Who's just going to give more turn meter to everyone.
And then so on for P1. Are there any more? I think did we hit most of the scenarios at this point?
Most of the ones I would think of, yes, at this point. So like I said, so Qui-Gon has already gotten rid of Deathmark before the captain even went, just by taking so many turns.
Mm-hmm. And now you're feeling the pain of what it's like to not run Rex.
Oh yeah. Like at this point,
so he's got no slow. So anytime he doesn't have slow, is there any reason you wouldn't do Victory March?
Or
is that what it's called? What's the slowdown?
The Fusillade, whatever,
yeah,
something
that
like
word.
that.
That word, huh?
Yeah.
Is there any reason if he's not slowed that you wouldn't do that move?
No. Slow is the most important thing.
I feel the same way. I feel you.
Yeah. 13K on that crit. That is nice.
Okay, so let's talk about for those of us that are free to play.
Yeah.
When we start getting to the enraged phase.
Yeah.
Do you attempt to pull Tebow out, or do you just keep going until Ewok Elder gets the boot?
So what I do when I'm trying to run away is I will only run away everyone else if Tebow gets out. Because without Tebow, the rest of this team is not going to be that effective.
Right.
So, for instance, let's just, for the sake of example, let's try and go to... So let's say he's got, 1 or 2 turns left before enrage. So, we try to escape. His escape failed. So I'm not going to try anyone else. At this point, I'm just going to keep on plugging away till T-Bows is back up again.
Yep, I do the same thing. I've once done this 3 times in a row, 3 rotations. So you know how it takes 8 turns for it to come back. I've failed 3 times in a row to get him out.
I've done that too. All right, so here's another one of those scenarios of using stealth. Of me looking at turn meters, Ewok Elder's going to go, Qui-Gon's going to go. So I have a pretty good chance of T-Bow being able to go again before Captain will, to try and get his leader stealth. So,
maybe that's something I need to start looking at, because I just smash that stealth button whenever I see it. And you bring up a great point that this is probably a scenario where I probably shouldn't hit that.
And kind of the thing is, if you had used it and say he resists, and then, we're getting up to this point. Let's see if he removes. So he doesn't.
Didn't even try. What a slacker.
So, here we are getting really close at this point. All right. Now I'm going to have to look a little more carefully because Geo, I think, is going to go before T-Bow, and that might be enough to give Captain a turn. So I'm going to use Victory March here. So, let's say last turn you had used it, he got resisted, and now that stealth bug comes in, and he's unstealthed right now. Now you don't have activated stealth up when Captain's right about to go. That's the main reason why I do a little bit of judgment call on when to use the activated stealth.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'll bet you that'll help me out a lot by doing that. It's like you said, how you kind of get the blinders on and you hit the basic?
Yeah,
I do that with the stealth. I see stealth, I smash it.
Yeah. Good, Geo. Way to call T-Bow again.
Yeah, look at that. And then you get a whole other free round of turns by doing that. You saved your stealth, so I like that.
So that's probably one of the biggest things to consider, is looking at Captain's turn meter and evaluating whether or not Ewok Elder or Qui-Gon are going to go again, or if, say, Phasma can use her Victory March to get you just that little bit. So again, like right now, his turn meter is so low, I'm not even going to bother.
See how I'm not even learning. Like, I saw that and I was like, oh, great. See, now you could use your stealth. You couldn't have done that before. But you're right. It was that exact same scenario where you should have saved it. I'm not learning.
Learn better.
Learn more better.
So, and again, like, Geo, I only ever use his assist if T-Bow is stealthed.
Right.
Because I don't want that chance of him calling T-Bow when he's not stealthed and giving extra turn meter.
Yeah.
And I know it's only a 1 in 4 chance to call T-Bow, but when it's the times when he's not stealthed and he's called, it's so much worse for me. So.
Yep. No, it's
so like right now I will.
That's the equivalent of Rancor finesse, and why we wanted to make this video because whether it's 20%, whether it's 40%, the player makes a difference in the score.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It's the difference in potentially of scoring 20, 30, 40% more.
So here's another
honestly, one. Than if you had just done the wrong decision. So
here's another time. I'm not going to use his activated stealth. I know he'll go again before the captain will.
Mm-hmm. Does the fusillade, the slow, does that remove turn meter as well?
No, it does not.
Okay.
So here's another point where I'm going to be looking at it. If I had Rex, I actually honestly wouldn't, because I know Rex can cover for removing turn meter. Like, I will say, there have been some runs, I've gotten a good chunk of damage already, and say the Rancor devours T-Bow, but I've got Qui-Gon and Rex up. Between the two of them and Ewok Elder, giving them some turn meter, I've actually managed to get another, 7, 8, 10% out of it just between those two. Because they're that powerful in coverage. So.
And it's so interesting to see how, this works really, really well for T6. Like, when we get to T7, he'll resist more, but he's got way less health.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome to see his
at this point, with the amount of damage I've done, I'm pretty sure I would have gotten almost all the way through Phase 1 of a Tier 7 because of the HP difference. Like, I think the Tier 7, he'd probably be like 15-20% right now, instead of
Right.
having 80% left. So
Right. Well, and then, but in theory, it's also is it faster and it resists more? Is that do I
it's a
understand
little bit
that correctly?
faster, it resists more, and the HPs are so much less. So those are the
Okay.
differences. Like, there's a few more, but like those are, in terms of how you're going to run your strategy and think about things, those are the big differences.
Now you're going to potentially have to relearn kind of some of the judgment calls about
Potentially,
how
yes.
much time you're going to give Tebow and such.
Yeah. It's like this one, just kind of the way I was looking at some of the turn meters, I think it would be better to stealth right now myself. So I did.
Yep. And now Tebow's ready to try his escape again if he needed to.
Yep. So let's just kind of see what's going to happen, just for the sake of experimentation.
Jeez, everybody's going like twice. Come on, Tebow.
And then, kind of like what I said earlier, of if, Rex or Qui-Gon, the attack is dodged, the turn meter thing will still happen. Same with Ewok Elder. If the attack is dodged, his attempt to give the rest of your team more turn meter is still done, even though the attack didn't land. So actually, here's another thing right now. I used his activated stealth, and it's at a 4-turn cooldown. So I'm not going to I wouldn't try to escape right now if it was up.
In normal circumstances.
In a normal circumstances. Because if I'm going to try to escape with him, I want activated stealth to be ready right at the start of the next battle in case I need it. So at this point, even though he can escape, I'm going to still keep plugging away until his activated stealth refreshes. Because that's more valuable in the long term. And he doesn't stealth. Alright, so let's see what happens. So we got Qui-Gon. Good Qui-Gon. Got Ewok Elder. Good Ewok Elder. So I don't even need to use Victory March at this point, because between Qui-Gon removing and Ewok gaining, I know Tebow's going to go again. And hopefully good. He does stealth.
There you go, and so on and so forth until
yep.
the piggies are dead, right?
Yep, and you just keep plugging away at this. So it was a lot of figuring out a good raid strategy is you've got to spend some time figuring out your guys' speed compared to their speed, and just finding those sweet spots of where you can get away with not using abilities and saving them for sometime more important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely learned I'm going to start messing around with not just auto-hitting that stealth button and looking at the turn meters more for Tebow, because I definitely do that.
I can pretty much guarantee you that, along with Rex, is the biggest reason I get the scores I do.
Yeah.
Because I save, Tebow's stealth, and I will say, so it's just...
Well, that Victory March, too, that's pretty big. I
Tebow's
don't have that.
Victory
I just
March,
can't do that with Jawa.
Adding 50% turn meter to everyone, Rex's cleanse. Even if there's nothing to cleanse, he still gives the team turn meter. So there are times where it's actually more valuable for him to use that than his basic and try to remove turn meter. Because, imagine a scenario where, almost all of them are, say, 50% turn meter, and the captain's at 95%, and Rex's turn is right then. It's more valuable to use his turn meter gain to try to get up the rest of them to go again than to use his basic and remove the little bit of turn meter that is likely going to let the captain go anyways, even if he does remove the turn meter. So a lot of this is figuring out when to use the abilities and also when not to, so that you have them in the emergency situations that you've needed them. And I will wholeheartedly admit, there have been a few times I'll have used both Phasma's Victory March and Rex's, I forget what the ability is called, but his turn meter gain, I've used them back to back. Because, like, one of the scenarios, for instance, Tebow attacks, he's resisted. Now he has almost no, and he doesn't get the bonus from his leader. Go away. So, at that point, I need him to go again. So there have been times I'll pop both of those just to get Tebow back up to full turn meter. And having both of those available on cue is so huge. So
yep, you're making a believer out of me.
So a good chunk of this raid strategy is knowing when not to use the abilities and save them for a more crucial time. That's probably the biggest takeaway, I would say.
Okay. Now, are we going to show Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4 stuff, or is that going to be it for what you wanted to show here?
Let's say I want to do a Phase 2 or Phase 3 run at some point, just because I have a very specific way of treating the door that I want to show people.
Maybe we make like a door drop specific strategy or something.
Well, I mean, kind of, but I'm going to go ahead and we'll end this here because I'm pretty sure we've given a good example of how to run this team. But Tier 4 is less of a concern in the grand scheme of things since it's such a Zerg rush anyways.
Phase 4.
Phase 4, yeah. Did I say Tier 4? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Tier 4 is definitely not a concern, I'll say that.
Not at all. But Phase 4, I mean, Phase 2 and Phase 3 are run so very similarly that you can pretty much consider them the same thing. The biggest difference is how the Rancor reacts to debuffs. Which in the grand scheme of things, if you're using a debuffer and a cleanser, doesn't make that much difference overall. So it's really the same kind of strategy.
This team has the makeup for all three phases, doesn't it?
So you're going to be using the same strategy in Phase 2 and Phase 3 pretty much regardless. So you can almost treat them as exactly the same.
All right, so welcome back, Guardians. We took a little break there just to let everybody finish P1. And now we're going to jump into kind of like the P2, P3, which have some similar mechanics, but they both have the door concept, but there is kind of like a cleanse factor / debuff factor. But with this team, it's irrelevant, right? Because you got Phasma to debuff, and you got Rex to cleanse. So Ed, again, go ahead and show us how you kind of do the different mechanics with the door and stuff like that.
So I'm going to run Rex now because he's A, who I'm used to, and B, it'll let me show a few things better, and I know not everyone has him. Sorry, I do, so I use him.
Yeah, if you have him, use him.
So, Rancor comes out like a beast. Blah, blah, blah. So, kind of to start off with, one of the things I use about the door, I don't drop it right away. So, Rex has turn meter removal. Let's go remove some of that. Qui-Gon removes some. Oh, that's beautiful right there. Got almost no turn meter right at the start.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I'm just gonna. So we go speed down. Beautiful. So what I do, and I really hope this works. So at this point, for the most part, I kind of do my business as usual on the Rancor with Rex and Qui-Gon. They're just gonna do their thing. Same with Phasma, she's attacked. Whatever. I tend to... Alright, so hopefully this won't crit right here. Because what I want to do... That's exactly what I wanted to do right there. So, I'm going to leave the door switch like that until I need it. And when I need it is when the Rancor is about to go and there's no possible way I'm going to remove turn meter. That's when I use the door.
Now, do you wait right before the Devour, or is it just anytime he's about to go, you door drop?
Basically, the reason I do this is I'm trying to preserve my protection. Now, with the way I run my raids, I have completely soloed through the entirety of Phase 3. I started right as Phase 3 began, killed it all the way through Phase 3, and went into Phase 4. So going into Phase 4, I wanted as much protection as possible going into it. So I keep that door because the amount of times the Rancor... Well, let me put it this way. No matter if the Rancor goes or you drop the door, the Devour turn meter is going to go down by 1, his enrage turn meter is going to go down by 1. Why take damage you don't have to?
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of the simplest reason. So I pretty much always keep the door in reserve until I need it. Now, the main difference between Phase 2 and Phase 3. With Phase 2, as long as the Rancor is suffering a debuff, or basically when he's not suffering, he has extra armor. So since one of the main focuses is to have speed down, you should always have a debuff on him. So that's kind of a moot point in the grand scheme of things. In Phase 3 is if your own characters have a debuff on them, which is, he has the health down and heal immunity that he can inflict. If one of those are on your character, then they do 50% less damage. So that one's a little harder to control, and you need the cleansing to be able to get rid of that. So here's another one, especially now that I have Rex in my squad. There's no way Rancor's going to go before Tebow again, so I'm not going to use stealth. And of course you get resisted. Even still. Yep. So Tebow goes again. Ewok Elder's doing what Ewok Elder does. Rex is doing what Rex does. Ah, there's a perfect one. So you saw right there, the Rancor dodged the hit, but the turn meter went away. So that's something that I know, like, pretty much any of the other turn meter reduction characters do. So, Rex, Qui-Gon, Ewok Scout, Chewie, they all have that same mechanic of if the attack misses, the turn meter reduction can still happen. It's just Tebow that doesn't have that, which is kind of annoying, but...
Right, the one character that you want to have that happen.
There we go. That's what I wanted Phasma to do. So now's the other fun one. So now that we've got defense down, you're going to see a lot bigger hits now. So this is where I really start tearing into the Rancor.
That nice Rancor steak.
Yep. He's just gonna sit there and cook for however long it takes me. It's like,
now, so is there a difference in speed with the Rancor versus the piggies?
From what I've noticed, actually, I think the Gamorrean Guard is faster. I've noticed even, like, especially when I didn't have Rex, the captain's turn meter was gaining a lot faster than I'm used to. But even with Rex, it moves faster, I've seen, than the Rancor does.
Because I know everyone I know has an easier time with the piggies, and I mean, assuming you have so you have to have the power to take out the pigs first, right? Yeah. That's the biggest thing. If you're not taking out those pigs, or if you find that hard, your gear levels are under what they need to be.
Yeah. So we'll say one of the things...
I didn't know if it was speed or if it was tenacity, like how much they resist, or a combination of the two.
So in terms of tenacity, from what I've heard, as you go through each phase, it increases. So Captain has the least...
That's certainly true for Phase 4. I know that. That thing resists like no one's business on Phase 4.
Captain has the least. Phase 2 Rancor has a little bit more. Phase 3 Rancor has just a little bit more, and Phase 4 Rancor has the most. I have not verified that by any means. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's the real advantage with Rex, is I've now had 2 turns where Tebow didn't stealth by leader, but on both of those turns, the Rancor's turn meter has been right about here. And you can see I have Rex and Qui-Gon primed up, and they're going to do what they do best. So that's the real advantage I have with this squad here is Rex does that, Qui-Gon does that. And the two of them are incredibly fast. They're some of the faster characters available.
What do you have their speed set at, do you know?
I think Qui-Gon is like high 160s, like 167 or something, and Rex is like 184, I think.
Okay.
I've invested more speed into Rex, since I know Qui-Gon has the give himself turn meter as well. So I'm a little less concerned with his. I eventually want to get it up a little more, but since he has that ability to give himself turn meter when he attacks, it's a little less critical for me. Because he does his job very well.
Right.
As you can see.
Yeah, Rex, that is one unit that I wish I had, and I know I can farm him now, but I'm not prioritizing him over the ship shards because I want those Zeta Mats.
Yep.
And I've decided that the best way to go after those Zeta Mats are the long term of going and investing in the ships as opposed to just buying them outright, which may or may not be the right answer, but that's just the route I've decided.
So kind of like what I was talking about here is the squad discipline is he'll dispel negative effects, give tenacity up, which with the way you're fighting this, that'll be gone before the Rancor does anything again anyways. So that's kind of a minor issue, but clone allies gain 60% plus an extra 10% for each effect dispelled, and other allies gain half. So he's giving himself 60%, which when you consider the possibility of that extra 25 from Tebow leader, he can possibly gain 85% turn meter when he uses that, not including if he's actually dispelling something. So, so it's kind of a double effect of he can go pretty quickly again himself to try to remove turn meter again if you need it, plus he's giving at least 30% to the rest of the team. And then when you add in Phasma's Victory March giving 50%, and then Ewok Elder giving, Tebow 25 and the rest of the team 10, like there's so much turn meter gain I have available on this team to me. And between, Tebow, Rex, and Qui-Gon, so much turn meter removal. There's a resist. Okay, let's see. So this might be a time where I get to show some of this. It's like right now. So actually, I think Tebow did get enough there that I'm going to use Rex's basic. So, now this is me right here, kind of looking at things going, I have Phasma's Victory March, I have Qui-Gon, and with Victory March, Rex will go again. So I think myself, I can get away with not stealthing right now, if I don't have to. So I'm going to do that just to kind of see what'll happen. So yeah, look how full Tebow's turn meter is again after that. So, and I have Rex, Qui-Gon, and Ewok Elder all full. Resist. Nope, didn't try. Now I can use stealth.
Why not? I would have smashed that so long ago.
Yep. That's kind of like your Swiss cheese example earlier of I have so much extra coverage between Phasma's Victory March, Rex's basic and squad discipline, Qui-Gon's basic. Like, I have so much coverage here that even when the Rancor's turn meter was that high, I could get away with not stealthing. So, I mean, that's one of the main reasons I'm able to put the numbers up that I can, is because I have so much coverage.
Yeah.
So, pretty sure at this point this is going to be... I'm just going to see what happens at this point. If it was me looking at things right now, I would consider dropping the door. I just want to see how things play out, though, for right now, just as an experiment.
I'm just impressed that with Rex that you're able to keep him under so much control that the door already came back. That just very rarely happens.
Well, I mean, the door has still been at that same HP.
Oh God, that's right. See, for me, I probably would have dropped the door twice now. He'd probably be on like 3 turns left. Like,
yeah.
I just can't. I don't have the control that your squad does.
So I'm gonna try using his squad discipline to see what'll happen now. Let's see if I can get some extra there. Hopefully Qui-Gon will remove. He does, and Tebow. Boom. So that's a case where I've used Victory March and Squad Discipline and Activated Stealth all together, like all in pretty quick succession. And if I didn't have all of those available to me, this would be a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of control this team gives you is ridiculous. And see, her Victory March is already back up if I need it.
That's crazy.
So there's so much turn meter control available to you here. And that's the main reason I'm able to get the scores I do, is because I have all of this control all together.
Now, how did you pull Rex originally, out of curiosity? Was this an Erodium pack, or was this Chromium?
I chromiumed. So now I definitely need to stealth, because I don't have... Phasma or Rex aren't going to go soon enough. So this is definitely the time I need it here. And of course, Ewok Elder goes before. But hey, so Tebow's turn meter has been full, so none of the other turn meters have charged. And look at where Ewok Elder is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he went, and he's going to go again before anyone else, I'm pretty sure. Qui-Gon might go before because he's faster, but that's the power right there of Ewok Elder, is he goes so often.
Yeah.
So this team just keeps...
I wish I had recorded the video, but I did a Galactic War the other day, and I actually was down to just as a 2v5. It was Ewok Elder and Tebow against basically a Jedi team.
Uh-huh.
And I came back and won it with all 5 still standing because Tebow and Ewok kept one unit locked down and were able to revive someone. That unit revived. They killed off the one unit they had locked down. Then they locked down another unit. So even though in sheer numbers it was a 2v5, it was really a 2v4 to begin with until I knocked one out and revived one. And when I knocked one out and revived one, then it was really a 3v3.
Yeah.
Right? Because one of the units is locked out. Well, when you have just the Rancor, it's the same principle. Yeah. Right? You've got 5 people here, but since he's on a lockdown, it's really a 5v nothing, right? You're just fighting your own ability to fight potency and resist. Yeah. And that's what the Rancor is. It's a fight against potency, and it's not a fight against a Rancor.
Yeah. And especially with this team, it's you against the random number generator. And that's all it is. When you have this much turn meter control stacked in your favor, it's just a question of when those really badly timed resists come in.
Now, what really surprised me one time was when you soloed all of P4.
I didn't solo all of it.
What's that? I
was going to say, like, I started and it was at about 88%, I think. And when I finished my run, it was like 20%.
Oh, so okay. I thought you did the whole thing.
Well, there was enough other people damaging it during my run that did that extra, 20%.
Okay. But still, that's still pretty impressive just because P4 is just... it just destroys me.
So again, with P4, here we have Ewok Elder. Now we don't have to worry about Devour and the revive issues. So when I have all this turn meter control, anytime the Rancor does get a turn in, if he kills someone, I have Ewok Elder to revive them. So that's how I'm able to just keep plugging along. Like, I probably, on that run, I had Rex and Qui-Gon die at least 4 times each.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just,
they
didn't both die at the same time.
Too, is that there's no Devour.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Devour's what kind of, stops Ewok Elder from just being OP in this raid.
Yeah. And so, having not be an issue there on P4, and especially since he has both the activated and his heal has a chance to revive, I definitely got lucky because there was one point, I think Rancor had used his slam, and it happened to kill both Rex and Qui-Gon. And I popped Ewok Elder's heal, and it revived both of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I just get right back up to running like it was like nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm. It was like my tournament match the other day. I wish I had recorded that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I really love about this team is, honestly, I'm hardly even looking at this point. I'm just kind of, looking where I need to for the correct basic, because actually I think all three of these have 3 abilities, so I just need to keep my thumb in the same place and occasionally kind of look down when the Rancor's turn meter starts getting a little high, just because they can run so much of this so well on their own.
Well, there you go. That's the real secret as to what is this team, is the 3 abilities, so that way you don't even have to look at the screen.
Yeah.
Lessons in laziness.
Everyone's basically using their basic anyways, so as long as Tebow gets stealth on occasion and I, look out for those couple of instances like happened earlier, which I'm very thankful they happened how they did, because it allowed me to show you what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's beyond that, this rate, my runs are just hit basic, hit basic, hit basic, hit basic.
Now, how long does it take you to do these 11 million damage runs?
Minimum hour and a half for that kind of damage.
It is such a time requirement.
Yeah. Just because,
what happens if you hit auto? If you just did a full auto with this team, how much damage do you think they would do?
Depending on the phase, I'm pretty sure I could auto and still break 3 million.
Okay.
And
that's my goal.
Again, that's just because you have Rex, you have Qui-Gon, you have Tebow, all using turn meter reduction. So the amount of coverage, even when they're using some of their other abilities, you've got so much turn meter removal available to you that one of them's going to be doing something every round. So even when you set it on auto, they still can do some pretty serious damage.
Now, if they took out that Bring Low, or if Bring Low only activated when there was, a positive status, that would make auto so much more useful, yes. I feel like.
That's kind of the main disadvantage with Tebow on auto, is it will try to use Bring Low whenever it's up, because it's such good DPS, relatively.
Oh, it's so annoying. If they just fix that, the Rancor raid would be so much more pleasurable to actually... I guess to do. You wouldn't even be doing it if you're autoing it, right? Just sim ticket the Rancor raid. That would be nice.
I just need my loot. Sim ticket.
Yeah, I'll just sim. Honestly, though, if you took like an average of the last 10 runs that you did on the Rancor, I would totally sim it if that were the option.
Yeah.
Sim everything else in this game. Why not that?
Hey everyone, just use a sim. We'll beat the Rancor in 20 seconds.
I'm going to actually sim it 20 times.
Everyone do your 0 damage to make sure you get some actual rewards from this, and sim.
Now, while you're doing this, have you thought or heard anything about a potential ships raid?
I've not heard anything.
I haven't heard anything either, but someone mentioned that the other day, and I just couldn't help but think oh man, what's that going to do to guilds? Like the AAT already broke up enough guilds. Yeah. Some people were ready for it and some people weren't. I can't imagine what ships are going to do, because we're talking about, okay, we're kind of done with the Rancor. It's just, we're going to do it when we get to T7 because we want those OG Hans.
Yeah.
Right? But as soon as that happens, we're going to step down and let the younger people who aren't scoring as high as you are, for example, to get the OG Han shards. It's kind of like what's happening with ships. Like we're not putting too much effort into it, but then all of a sudden, if there's a ships raid, that's going to potentially really put a lot of guilds at ends with each other again too. For those that care a lot, like we got that new guy in our guild here recently. He loves ships, loves them.
Yeah.
He's going to be our He's going to be our Atigan of ships. It sounds like because he's so into it. It'll be interesting to see what happens if another raid like that comes out.
I think the biggest thing is there's not enough diversity in the ships yet.
No,
for them to allow to do that.
Anakin's not even a pilot yet.
I know. Like, I think honestly, it's very likely, I think, down the road. But there's not enough ships available right now.
Yeah.
For them to
I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about fleet commanders. And we were talking about how the droids just don't have anything.
Yeah.
And they started talking about Newt Gunray, and I thought, well, there's a natural potential fleet captain.
Yeah.
Because Grievous is just way too hard to farm, and that would be an interesting alternate for a separatist.
Unless they auto
fleet.
give us Grievous.
What's that?
Unless they auto grant us Grievous like they did Akbar.
Oh, that would be so good.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of break and go back to the point of this video of here we are at another situation where this is me looking at my team, kind of making the judgment call of. I kind of want to see what happens if I don't use stealth at this point. I probably would normally, but just for the sake of experimentation, I just want to see.
Yeah, because your Rex and Qui-Gon are so low that...
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't think they're going to beat him.
Oh, yeah. They're going to go.
No way. Oh, come on!
Oh, there we go.
Ooh, and Qui-Gon pushed him over the edge.
Yep.
Well, you tried.
But point being, you can see how fast the two of them are, that even when they were that low, they still would have taken their turns first. So now just because I kind of want to clear them and also make sure that Ewok Elder isn't stunned anymore, I would do that. So that clears it up, and look, Rex has full turn meter again. Because he just debuffed, he cleared, let's see, there was one on him, one on Qui-Gon, and I think there were 3 on Ewok Elder. So yeah, that gives him full turn meter, and at least 50% on everyone else.
One of the major reasons why I absolutely hate going against him as a droid user. His turn meter control is ridiculous.
Yeah. So here's one of the other points where, he took 1 turn. So there's only 1 turn left on speed down from Phasma. The other problem is I try to make sure that I don't drop the door on him when I don't have to. So I'm hesitant to use it again right now, just because I don't want the door to accidentally drop when I don't want it to.
Mm-hmm.
But if the door switch had a little bit more health, I definitely would refresh it just to make sure.
So each time you do that, it restarts for another 2 turns, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So each time you use her Fusillade, it's 2 turns.
So she's 2 turns. What are 5s in Jawa? Are they 2 turns?
I believe so. I know 5s is. I know 5s is also easier to manage speed down since it's on his basic. You're going to be using it so much that you really don't have to think about it. The one thing with Phasma is you do have to think about that sometimes, is you do need to, kind of like in our earlier one, how I kind of let it drop sometimes. Mostly because at this point, I'm not really used to running Phase 1, because I tend to be busy when they're happening.
Right.
So I tend to miss it, but I'm not used to that run, but it is something you do have to be aware of with Phasma, is since hers is an activated ability, you will need to refresh it if the Rancor or the Captain takes a turn.
Now, you run these huge runs. We're probably not going to sit through the whole thing. Do we want to just go ahead and drop the door and just say, hey, here's what I do in a door drop situation? Do you want to talk about the reset at all, or is there anything special there?
So I'll go ahead and, just because I'm gonna need to refresh speed down anyways. Let's see if it'll. Yep, that'll take it down and refresh the speed down. So we get the door drop. At this point, it's just do as much damage as you can. So this is going to be one of the few times I will use Qui-Gon's assist. And you can see, like, every hit is guaranteed crit when the door's down. So this is where you're starting to do some pretty massive damage. And like for Rex, I'm going to use his other special. So that deals damage and then a bonus damage as well. Which, that move against the AAT raid is fantastic. Because that bonus damage with the size of the HP pool of the tank, that bonus is doing like 30k when I use that.
Yeah, I sometimes forget the mechanics between the two because I'm used to 100% crit rate here.
Yeah.
But when the tank topples, it's not 100% crit rate.
I forget what the advantages are there, but it's like here, yes, it is more damage to use the Humbling Blow, but I still prefer to have that chance for Qui-Gon to, like there, he gained that turn meter to make sure that he can go again sooner and use his assist. So while the Humbling Blow is more damage for the actual swing, it's possible I might be able to get him to go again because I used his basic. Or if I hadn't, he definitely wouldn't go. Yep, Ewok Elder will hopefully give him just that extra little bit. Yep, to go one more time. Where if I'd used Humbling Blow, I can guarantee he wouldn't have had this extra turn of door drop. And even still, that basic's doing some pretty good damage.
Sure is. Now yours is what gear? Is yours gear 11 now?
Yeah. I upped mine to gear 11 recently. Oh, why did speed drop? That's new. Nope, gonna have to get speed down back on.
It's alright, I think Rex is gonna get you there.
Well, it might be tough. But I think between Qui-Gon and Rex, I can do it.
What is your Phasma speed? I'm surprised you went right there with your basic, especially without speed down.
Because I have Rex and Qui-Gon coming up, and Ewok Elder was coming up.
Yeah.
Again, I have the advantage of so much extra turn meter control that I can afford to not use stealth.
Yeah, my Ewok Elder doesn't have an Omega on his basic yet either.
Yeah. You wouldn't think 10% turn meter is that much, but it's actually pretty huge.
Well, think about it this way. When you Omega his basic, again, this is our fake math. This isn't real math. But putting an extra 10% turn meter is similar to saying, would you want to put 10% more damage on your runs, on your Qui-Gons, your Rexes, and your Phasmas, right? Because it's giving them 10% more turn meter than they would have had otherwise. It doesn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. The math doesn't break down exactly to that.
No.
But it's a good way to think about it.
It's an analogy.
Right? Yeah.
It's a close enough analogy to get the point. But yeah.
And the answer is yes. I do want my 3 members to do a lot more damage.
Oh yeah. Well, and also just remembering how fast both Qui-Gon and Rex are, the 10% makes a bigger difference for them than it would for, a much slower character.
I'll say this: watching your team go, like I knew Phasma applied the defense down. I knew that obviously Rex was amazing, but this has been really inspiring for me to actually do Phasma, because I was thinking about just not doing Phasma after this and just doing ships.
Yeah.
And I told myself I wasn't going to work on the Rancor anymore, that I was going to focus on just the AAT. But even Phasma has a lot of play with the slow.
Yeah.
Like the mass slow that we saw with the piggies, being able to do multiple target slow. That's pretty useful.
I mean, any of the phases, like even the tanks, it can apply slow down to all those extra cannons.
Yeah, my Jawa and 5s are pretty big slackers when it comes to that.
Yep. All right. So luckily Qui-Gon removed there, so I can afford to basic with Rex. But yeah, this is...
Otherwise you would have done the boost there, right?
Yeah. If he hadn't, I definitely would have done the boost, because This is one of those really close points where having all these overlaps are so nice to have on command.
Mm-hmm. Now, what would happen if you had, instead of Ewok Elder, I'm trying to think, because I think this team is just perfect the way it is. Like, I almost wouldn't take anything out. It's almost like you're just to take Phasma out and replace her with Dengar would be the only option I would see.
Basically. So, here at this point is where I definitely would use
the boost, because his basic wouldn't remove enough, you're saying?
Yeah. His basic wouldn't remove enough for... no stealth.
No stealth.
This is... So, like, in theory, this would be a time where, if the door was available, I would have dropped it right there with Tebow's basic.
Mm-hmm. So that's and it would have been. I pressured you into running the door early because I'm a bad guild member and trying to do something for the video instead of your score.
Nah, my score can take it. For the sake of demonstration, I was happy to do it. But yeah, like that would be the exact moment I would have dropped the door.
Right. Well, and you'd have another turn too because you lose a turn when you do the door drop. So you actually would have been 13 right now still too.
Yeah.
So, bad Una.
Meh.
Way to peer pressure your guildmates into things they don't want to do. It's like prom all over again.
Basically.
This is Rancor.
Did I say that out loud? So, that kind of gives you a basic idea of what's happening here for the Rancor raid. And as you can see with Rex, it's so much more control than you have available. And yet, the only reason I would ever replace Phasma is with Dengar. And Dengar has, he has that tenacity down ability, so it would remove that need for potency. So, like that resist there probably wouldn't have happened. And the other thing is, with Dengar, he also does have a speed down. And on his basic, when there's a debuff, speed down, tenacity down, he has a 60% chance to call an assist. So, when we're working with Dengar there instead of Phasma, that's Qui-Gon who can remove turn meter, Rex who can remove turn meter, Tebow who can remove turn meter, or Elder who can give the rest of your team more turn meter. So, in terms of that, I think Dengar would make my scores better, but hard to say since I don't have him yet. But yeah, that's probably the only person I would replace Phasma with at this point. Because that kit, just doing that little bit of extra, it would be the assists and the tenacity down instead of the defense down. So each of my hits with Dengar would be doing a little bit less, but overall I would have even better control than I do now. And as you can see, I have pretty dang good control.
Yeah, this Rancor is tamed, man. He does not behave this way for me. Cool. Well, I definitely learned a lot. I feel like sometimes you think you know a lot, as a player, and it's hard to kind of listen to others. I think there's other Guardians out there that'll definitely teach us stuff too. I think Crypto Acid is working on TIE Fighter Pilot. I think it'll be really interesting to see what TIE Fighter Pilot does here. But I definitely think I learned a lot with kind of like doing learning to not just smash the stealth button every time is one of the big takeaways that I had. But I think you definitely had a lot of really great points that I think some people might not know about in terms of when to do the door drop, when to do the basics, when to use advantage, like in terms of when they're going to go, how you talk about using Rex's basic as opposed to pushing everybody's turn meter up. I think those are all good things to share that not everybody knows.
Yep, and that's why I want to do this, is the more you know, the better we're all going to do. So
Right.
Pretty soon we're going to see all of us doing 11 million runs.
Well, we'll see. With T7 coming up, there's going to be a lot less health to go around.
All right, so for T7, we're all going to be doing, 6 million runs and all soloing it.
Woo! All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Any final words from you, my man?
Nothing comes to mind. Just go out there and kill some Rancor.
Get out there, get yourself some Rancor steak, flambe it, or whatever you want to do. So, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Leave questions. And, of course, reach out to us on Discord. We love to make these videos, so you tell us what you think you'd find most useful. We'll share whatever knowledge we have. I'm not saying we know it all, but if we all contribute, I think that helps. That's what makes our guild stronger, is by us sharing information. So I want to thank Adigan again for spending his time and showing us the secrets of how he does his runs. And we'll catch you guys, and good luck with your farming. Una out.